talk to Gage.
Put bucks up my anus.
That's literally what she says. Like, not even
Put
joking.
the bucks.
I would have cried laughing
The
about
bucks.
Oh, you better hurry up, bro. You gotta spend like 30 minutes video. 30 minutes.
All right, so yeah,
Bro, calm down.
I'm
So-
the director.
Don't rush.
So
You can't rush art.
Stop lecturing me.
so I think we should first start with honorable mentions,
Oh.
then nominees.
Yes.
And then name
if
the
you have
one.
honorable, some of these I don't, but you have honorable mentions for everything.
Yeah. I wrote them down. I wrote them down for everything.
I don't.
Okay, so do you? I say you want to like start on the first one. Or you want me to like start on the first?
Why don't you? It's your channel. Why don't you
Okay.
introduce it?
Okay. All right. So today we're doing the Jackson Movie Awards. We never come up with a name for it, so that's me come up with it on the spot.
Fake
But
Oscars.
Wow, that was good.
yeah,
That was
yeah.
good.
But basically, we have 10 categories, and we're gonna go through each one, and we're basically gonna be talking about primarily, except for one award, just movies we watched that were new to us in the year 2024. So if it was something we've already seen before, it's only going to be considered for one award, and we'll get to that. But I say we just dive in.
Well, let's dive right in.
Let's dive right in.
right.
So how this is going to work is we're going to introduce the category, then we're going to go over any honorable mentions if we have them, and then we're going to go over our 3 nominees for each category. So we get 3, and then we're going to pick the one that's like the winner, or in some categories, the loser of whatever it is. So we're going to start off with the worst film that we watched in 2024.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go? Why don't you do it first,
So,
and
I'll
then
list so we're gonna list our 3 nominees.
yeah. If you don't have honorable mentions,
If you don't have honorable mentions, and then we'll kind of discuss, and then we'll hit our winner, which this
Yeah.
one's a loser, but whatever.
Yeah.
Okay, so my 3 nominees for worst first watch of 2024 are Robin Hood Men in Tights, directed by Mel Gibson. The movie Infinite, directed by I Don't Care. Starring Mark Wahlberg.
go on. Sorry,
And Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
I remember these from the ranking video that we did.
Yeah, these, geez, bro. We'll discuss after we give our nominations. How about that?
Okay, all right, that makes sense.
You go to yours.
All right, so I have honorable mentions for like every category, just because I wrote them down, and I just like I have a lot for some of these. But for worst movie, my honorable mentions are Vertical Limit. That one sucked. Slaughterhouse wasn't fun. Bird Box was really bad. Joker 2 is horrible. Pumpkinhead Ashes to Ashes.
That's
A Haunted House, and Splice.
You watch all sorts of crap. And
I watched a lot. So those are honorable mentions. They didn't quite crack the top 3, but what I think were the 3 worst movies I watched this year is License to Wed, Norbit, and Tarot.
Let's discuss.
Let's get into this.
Okay, so I guess I start with mine. So Robin Hood Men in Tights, it's a parody movie of Robin Hood. Some parts were funny, but overall, like that's the only thing it had was just it's parodying Robin Hood, and I honestly didn't think it was that funny. I know a lot of people that love it, but was not my kind of humor. I didn't think it was that funny, so most of the time I'm just sitting there like,
Yeah. If it's comedy, it's not funny. Like that's
it's
brutal.
comedy's subjective, and if it doesn't work for you, then it's hard. But Infinite, it is like an AI could have made the script to this movie. It's so generic. Like I said in the previous video, like it's everything wrong with modern blockbusters. It's what big studios think that successful movies look like. It's trash, bro. Unoriginal, uninspired. Again, AI could have just made it.
Dang.
And I mean, yeah, it was bad, bro. And then Fast Times at Ridgemont High. Oh my lord, bro. This movie was so bad. Oh gosh. Every character is unlikable except for Sean Penn's character. It's a comedy that dealt with a lot of icky, gross things that were not funny at all to me. I hated the way it made me feel. It made me feel bad.
I remember you talking about that one now.
Jeez,
I remember
bro.
that.
It is. Whew, these were tough. These were movies that I watched and I was just like, what am I doing? What am I doing with my life?
So what would be the number 1 now? What's the loser of 2024?
The worst first watch of 2024 was Fast Times at Ridgemont High.
Wow.
That movie is so trash. And I know that there are people who like that movie. I'm just not one of them. In full respect, if you love that movie, that's okay. I just have differing opinions. Oh, I couldn't stand that movie. When I watched it,
Wow.
like, I'm like halfway through it and I'm like, is this the movie? Like, this is the movie. Like, we're doing this.
Wow.
But, I mean, Sean Penn was great, so I can't say anything about that. But, man, I just hated my time with that movie. It is definitely the worst thing I watched in 2024.
Wow. Dang. All right, so there you have it. there's Gavin's worst movie of the year. All right, so I guess I'll talk about each of these for a second. So, I mean, Tarot, that actually came out this year. It's garbage. It has the AVP Requiem effect where you can't actually see anything in the movie because it's so dark.
Lighting.
Yeah, bad lighting. It basically tells you everything that's going to happen in the movie in like the first 10, 15 minutes of this movie. And then it just like, everything that was described just happens. And so it's so formulaic. It is the most formulaic horror movie I've ever seen in my life. It was so boring. I hated it.
This is giving like January horror movie energy.
Yeah.
January Blumhouse.
And, you know, by the end, it was like, I just hated it. I hated how it ended. I hated everything about it. It was really bad.
It was bad.
And then I watched Norbit. I thought this was really bad too. For some reason, that one actor, I forget his name. Eddie Murphy, is that his name?
Is it Eddie Murphy?
I think it's Eddie Murphy, yeah.
Like Haunted Mansion. He also did Donkey and Shrek.
Yeah. He plays like 3 or 4 characters in the movie, and that are like different people, but he's playing them, and it's really strange. It's not very funny. I feel like it's kind of like, I don't know, man. I don't even want to talk about like some of the jokes. They just feel icky to me. Like they just don't feel like, they feel kind of like mean-spirited in a way, and they just made me feel like bad. And then it had like this like, this cutesy kind of side story, trying to remind you of like Forrest Gump or something. And I was like, no. Frick that. I was like, that's stupid. And it was dumb. And I hate the subtext. If you really think about this movie, it's very bad. I don't like it. It's very stupid. So it's, maybe a joke or two was like kind of funny, but I don't know. I just thought it was bad. And then the next one, License to Wed.
Has Robin Williams.
No. And John Krasinski.
No.
It was so bad. We all agreed. Like, we watched it with Mom and Dad. And
they didn't like it either?
And they didn't like it either. All of us hated it. We thought it was bad.
Oh.
Yeah, it made me hate Robin Williams.
Oh, you can't do
That's
that.
how bad it was.
There's a scene where he gets punched in the face and you like it.
And it was the best scene.
That's how you know you have messed up. If you don't like Robin Williams in the movie, you're done.
Yeah, I hated everything that it stands for. And the best moment, I do think, is like the beginning. When Robin Williams is introduced, he's playing like Family Feud, but with like Bible questions. It's actually really funny, but that's it. Not funny past that. He's like a psychopath. Yeah. This should just be a horror movie. That's how bad it is. So I guess if I were to pick like the worst movie of the year, that's a rewatch.
Bro, that was like 13.
That is the worst movie I've ever seen though. But I think the winner's got it, or the loser's got to be License to Wed. I just think it's that bad.
That is. That's so sad.
I think it was that bad. It fails at everything. Even like the romance, bro. Even the romance, not buying it. I mean, I was buying it, but Robin Williams like fricked it all up, and then he made it worse. And I don't know. It was horrible. It was bad.
Oh, brother.
All right, that's bad.
Let's go. All right, so I guess I'll introduce our next category here. This is the last negative category, so. We are going now to most disappointing film that we watched in 2024.
Not necessarily the worst.
Not necessarily a bad movie or the worst movie, but a movie that you had high expectations or a certain expectation for, and it fell way below that. And it's sad because you could have seen potential in it. So, do you want to start with what you got?
Yeah. So my honorable mentions are stuff like the first Saw.
I like that movie. I like that movie.
Annihilation, The Farewell was disappointing. Master Gardener was a little disappointing for me as well.
Paul Schrader.
Boyhood, Pumpkinhead, Winterlight, Mr. Crockett, Stop Motion, Cat
Wait, you
People.
expected Pumpkinhead to be good?
Yeah, because it was Stan Winston.
People love it,
and
too.
people love it. I was disappointed.
Okay.
That's a bad movie.
Mr. Crockett disappointing. What the frick?
And then, I said Cat People, and then wait, that was this year. And then Onibaba,
Oh,
Inherent Vice,
I've heard of that.
and Lord of the Rings, The War of the Rohirrim. Or
that makes sense.
Those are my honorable mentions.
Yeah.
And then my nominees for most disappointing movie this year is Nosferatu, We Live in Time, and American Psycho.
Wow. Whoa. We'll circle back to that.
We'll circle
because
back to that.
I have some things to say about you.
All right. Go to your honorable
My
mentions and nominees.
I don't have any honorable mentions, but my nominees are going to be Mandy with Nicolas Cage, Nosferatu as well, 2024, and Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire.
Ooh.
So we'll talk about them, but you talk about yours first. We have some things to discuss.
Okay, so. All right, so I'll start with the one that, like, to me is probably, like, I had to include it, but I'll be honest, like, it's really kind of a fight between the top two of like, what I nominated. But We Live in Time
This is this year?
This is this
with
year.
Andrew Garfield and Florence Pugh.
Yeah.
Interesting. I heard some people like this movie.
I know, and I did too. Like we said, disappointing is not necessarily bad, because I like a lot of these that I named. And even these top three, I actually gave all three of these movies the B tier category. But We Live in Time, I just expected it to be so much more, and I thought it was so clear the direction to go in with the story based on the trailers. I was like, this is going to be like one of my favorite movies of, like, ever. Just like what was set up and what I was like, I can so envision where this is going, and it's going to just be my favorite thing ever.
It was A24, so.
And it's good. It's really good. But it kind of veers off into, some other, type discussions and themes in the movie that I was like, they're good, but I went in with a totally different expectation of what they were going for, and I feel like it kind of, I don't know, went around a little bit, and it just didn't hit as hard as I really, like, my expectations were up here, like, high as high, and so, like, it was good. It was really good, but I don't know. It might even be better on a rewatch, but for me, it was very disappointing after watching it.
It was one of those things where you just kind of hyped it up in your head, and you saw a really good version of it before you saw the actual version of it.
Before I saw it was, But then, really, it's got to be between these two, because, like, the amount of disappointment I feel like is even higher with these two.
No.
American Psycho is a movie I've been talking about for like a year.
Yeah, I watched it 2023, and I give it like 4 stars. I give it A tier. I thought it was really good.
Yeah, you I ended up putting it lower, dude.
That's crazy.
I thought American Psycho was B tier.
What?
It didn't.
Why?
I thought it was good. Like, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It just didn't hit me. Like, I really thought this was gonna be like, oh, this is a good one. Like, this is a really good one. Like, this is gonna be like, top 10, top 20 type material. Because I'd heard so many good things about it. But then, no, like, we get into the movie, and I thought there's some good stuff. Like, Christian Bale was really good.
His acting is...
He was killing it.
This is great.
He was killing it. And there's definitely some cool moments of, like, wow, this is, like, I really see what they're going for. But I don't know, just most of the movie I felt like was just not as good as I thought it was going to be. I felt like the theming wasn't, like, maybe it wasn't as relatable as I thought it was going to be. Maybe that's what it is. Maybe that's why I didn't hit as hard. But yeah, no, I just didn't like it as much as I thought it was.
That's
I thought
crazy.
it was. I still think it's like a 3.5. It's still a B tier movie, but yeah.
The performance from Christian Bale is, like, incredible, I think.
Yeah.
There are some really great moments. The moment where he's, like, running from the cops and he's calling, like, his lawyer or whatever, and he's freaking out and crying, and he's, like, going through all these emotions. He's like, I killed someone, and then he starts to, like, lose emotion. It's like, dude, that performance is really good.
It's really good. That's the best part.
But it's also really funny, like, let's see Paul Allen's card.
Yeah,
the business card
comparing
scene,
the cards.
or the scene where they're listening to he's showing the Jared Leto's character the music, and he's like talking about he's like getting in the jacket and gets the axe and everything.
Yeah,
he's
yeah, I
talking
remember
about
that.
blah, 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 blah. Hey, Paul.
Yeah, I remember that.
So, but I understand. It wasn't a 5-star movie for me. There were parts of it where I was like, I don't really care for that, this, that, and the other. But I still thought it was pretty strong. But I could see why people wouldn't connect with it. A lot of people didn't connect with it when it first came out. They thought it was like in poor taste and like, oh, like he's like killing a bunch of people and killing women and stuff. Like, why would you like this? So there was controversy when it came out. So, you know, it doesn't work for everybody.
Yeah. And then my last nominee being Nosferatu. I just expected so much from this movie because I was like, Robert Eggers like the perfect person to remake it. And I thought it was just going to be a slam dunk. Like, this is going to be one of the best of 2024.
Dude, Bill Skarsgård as Count Orlok. You got Nicholas Hoult, Willem Dafoe, Aaron Taylor Johnson. Like, it should have been. Like a hole-in-one.
But I thought, like, there were moments in this movie I laughed. And honestly, I feel like that's all I gotta say. Also, his mustache was really funny. His mustache was funny. But it just didn't hit as hard. I think I like the original 20s version more still, which is sad. I don't know. I kind of wanted it to be better than the original.
Yeah, for me, I'll start with Nosferatu. I literally feel the exact same way.
Oh, it's also in your nomination?
Yeah. Everything you said, I agree with as far as like who's behind the movie, the director and the cast and everything.
It just should have been
I had the same expectations where I'm like, dude, this is going to be incredible. Yeah. Watch the movie. I was high on it for the first night, and I was like, "What? That was really good. Visually, it was great, and had some cool vibes, some really disturbing imagery and kills and gore and stuff." But then the more I like sat on it, I was like, that could have been so much better.
Yeah.
That could have been so much better. So
yeah, I think so.
I largely agree with your opinions there. Godzilla X Kong: The New Empire. Dude, I'm a huge Godzilla fan. I love like 85% of all Godzilla movies. I've seen pretty much all of them. And even like the quote-unquote bad ones, like the cheesy ones, I love. Got a huge soft spot for. So it doesn't take much to please me as a Godzilla fan. But that movie was just like, man, so disappointing. It wasn't horrible, but like Godzilla's barely in it. It's primarily a Kong movie. I think it kind of should have been a Kong movie.
Yeah.
And then like there's just like crazy leaps in logic and not a good sense of like place and time. You know, like I described in the last video, like where they go to get the gauntlet. Dude, like that's like they're way out here. The gauntlet's where they first start, and they just like get in a cut. They get there, in another cut, they're just back. I'm like, brother, huh? Like that's a giant piece of equipment. So it's just things like that where it took me out of it. I'm like, okay, like you understand, like they're okay with being dumb, but I mean, come on, bro. You know, we can do better than this. There were some fun fights. I think all of the fight scenes near the end were really great, but I just expected so much more, especially coming off of like King of the Monsters and Godzilla versus Kong. So
yeah.
I also think there's something else that I thought would be worth mentioning is that in that place, Hollow Earth, there's like no sense of scale.
That's true.
They don't look big at all in that place. They kind of just look like regular monkeys all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I was really disappointed by that. And then my last nominee for this one is Mandy. And I just, this should have been great. It's another thing that should have been great. You know, Nicolas Cage, chainsaw, evil Satanists. I mean, come on. You should be able to make that work. It's so easy to make that work. Yeah. But it's just, the first half of it is so boring and pretentious and uninteresting. And Nicolas Cage is barely in the first half of the movie. And so you have to sit through all of that in the first half just to get to the good part in the back half. And I just have no interest in rewatching like a 2-hour movie just for like 1 hour of it to be something I completely hate. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was just disappointing because I know a ton of people love that movie, but for me it was just a complete, not complete, but it was a big misfire for me.
Yeah.
So yeah, those are my disappointing, and I think my most disappointing. Oh, I honestly am gonna go with Mandy on this one because here's the thing with Godzilla X Kong, it was still watchable. Like if you threw it on and I was forced to watch it, I'd be okay. Mandy, I would not be okay watching the first half of it, and I'd be really bored. And so I think that itself makes it like more
disappointing.
Yeah, exactly. So that would be my pick. Very disappointing.
I realized I didn't even name mine. I think it's because, like, dude, I was still, like, between Nosferatu, We Live in Time, and American Psycho, like, it is pretty tough. But I think overall, I probably have to give it to American Psycho. Probably because I've been more excited for it for longer.
Yeah, there's been a lot more, like, hype over the years.
Yeah, hype built up, yeah. So for me, American Psycho is my most disappointing of the year. So I guess we move on next category.
Dang. All right, now we're into the positive stuff.
All right, now we can get past all that.
Let's get into some good vibes.
So, the 2024 ranking. I'm gonna move these old papers. See, I kind of these like.
What's going on?
What's going on?
What are you
I'll put
doing?
these over here. All right. So for most surprising is the next category. So this is movies that, you know, we were like maybe going in thinking it's going to be bad or maybe kind of like, whatever, you know, just put something on. But it ended up surprising us and we ended up thinking it was much better or there was something about it that was much better than what we went in expecting. And there was something maybe about how we experienced it that made it really good. So I started last time. Why don't you start this time?
Most surprising films for me are going to be Rear Window, directed by Alfred Hitchcock, Django Unchained by Quentin Tarantino,
Oh, yeah.
and Annie Hall, directed by Woody Allen.
Okay.
Very, very different three movies there.
Yeah.
But let's go to your nominees, your nominees, and then I'll talk about mine.
Okay.
Right.
All right. So
this is very loose.
yeah. So I'm telling you, dude, I got so many honorable mentions for all these, but I have to name them. I'm just going to go through them really quick. I don't really want to talk about these ones. I want to talk about the three, but my honorable mentions are movies like Backcountry, The Prince of Egypt, Dream Scenario, Purge Election Year, Saw X, Your Monster, Unfriended, Silence from Martin Scorsese, The Witch, Living with Chucky, the documentary, and then Gladiator 2, Terrifier, and Civil War.
Ooh,
There's
some bangers in there.
Those were my honorable mentions. As far as my nominees, well, why don't we go back to yours? You do yours, and I'll do nominees, and then whatever wins.
Yeah, we're playing fast and loose here.
Let's do that.
Okay, so
between yours, remind me again what they are.
Rear Window, Django Unchained, Annie Hall.
Annie Hall.
Very, very different movies here, but I'll start with Rear Window. Dude, so I'd seen The Birds years ago. That was my first Hitchcock movie. I watched Psycho last year. I watched in 2024. Vertigo in 2024. And those movies just didn't hit me like I wanted them to, like they do for most people. I watched Rear Window. I'm going into it. It's one of his more popular movies because I still want to give Hitchcock a chance. And I was thoroughly surprised by this movie. Wow. It's primarily one location. You're in an apartment with our main character, and he's stuck in a wheelchair. He's been injured. And he just kind of people watches out of his apartment building. He sees what he thinks is a murder. And so he's trying to figure out if it's really true or not. But again, he can't leave. So he has like a detective come by and help him. He has some other people he knows like trying to figure out what's going on. And it was very interesting. It was very tense, thrilling. There's some parts where you're like, oh no, like he sees you, like kind of stuff. Like it was really good. I mean, Hitchcock is the master of suspense for a reason. I think that, again, I thoroughly enjoyed it and I would love to rewatch it. So yeah, that was great. Django Unchained, I was so nervous about watching. I am not a big Western guy. And Quentin Tarantino has this thing where he loves to have long sequences of just dialogue. That sometimes works and it sometimes does not work. There's multiple movies where both are true. So I just thought going into it, a Western with long dialogue scenes sounds like my worst nightmare. That sounds horrible.
Sounds horrible.
But I was like, I am determined to watch all of Tarantino's films. So I go over, watch it, and dude, it was awesome. It was actually one of the greatest movies I watched this year. It was incredible acting, a great story, some really like tense sequences, but also just like an awesome ending. Like, dude, I loved it. Tarantino knocked it out of the park with that one. And then, lastly, Annie Hall. Dude, it's a rom-com from the 70s, and so unlike most things that I watch. But I had heard it was greatly reviewed, and whatever. I just took a chance on it, and I came out of it really enjoying it. It was funny. It was unique. It had some very ahead of its time kind of like, type of humor, where it's like changing art style, or we're like talking to the camera or whatever. And then it had some really nice thematic elements that I thought were deep and made you think, and there was a lot of meat on it, and I really appreciated that. Very different from a lot of rom-coms that come out, but I was really not expecting to like it, and I really did. So
out of those three, what was the most surprising movie of the year for you?
It's hard. I think I'm going to go between Django and Annie Hall. I think I was more surprised that I liked Annie Hall than Django Unchained, because at least Django Unchained is directed by a director that I love. So, but Annie Hall, I'd never seen a Woody Allen movie, and I just took a complete chance and ended up liking it. So I think surprising is going to go to Annie Hall.
Annie Hall. You heard it here first.
That's crazy, but yeah.
Wow.
All right.
Okay, so I'll move back to mine. Is it still recording?
Yes.
All right.
We're 30 minutes in.
So we already did honorable mentions. So my 3 nominees this year for most surprising movie is Tarantula, Speak No Evil, and Warrior.
Interesting movies.
So,
okay.
Tarantula, this movie blew my mind. Like, it's one of those 50s era horror movies. It's just a big spider, it's a big spider. You're like,
the genre is big spider.
It is big spider. And, I've been watching like these sci-fi collections that I have on DVD with my family. And when we got to Tarantula was the reason why we got into them to begin with. And yeah, that movie probably is the movie I was the most obsessed with throughout the year, as weird as that is. It's not even quite A tier for me. It's still like a B tier movie, and that's just because there is moments where it does drag. But the reason why it surprised me so much is because just how much I thought about it, and just how much I think it deserves to be remade, because there's a shot in this movie where it's nighttime and the spider is targeting some horses, and that's all I'm gonna say about that scene, because it was just the best scene. It's like
cool.
That's like top 10 scenes of the year. Like, that's how good it was. Like, I was just like awestruck by how cool it was.
Almost like Nope energy, where the UFO doesn't make a sound; it just goes over the hill. Like, it's just like, that's scary, dude. Like, that's what the kind of vibe you're describing.
And it's a short movie, but there is still moments where it's like a lot of like scientific, like sci-fi 50s talk, about like food shortages and stuff, whatever. But none of that stuff didn't land as hard. But just the spider and what you could do with that just like captured my imagination with how they did it. And it's a real spider; it's just crawling around, but they made it look huge. So yeah, that was really surprising to me. Speak No Evil. I heard it was a remake, and it's Blumhouse. I thought it was gonna suck. I really was like,
most people did.
I was like, I don't think this is gonna be.
And
good.
also, the trailer was so overplayed. It was every movie.
Every movie. But I thought it was great. I actually really liked it. It was so cool. I liked what they were going for with this. Like the social norms, and when you aren't falling in under what is normal, then like there's like kind of horror hiding in there, and I thought that was just like, I think it's excellent. I know it's not the first one to do it because it's a remake, but I still just like was so surprised. I feel like I'll like the original more if I watched it. I still haven't watched it yet, but just speaking strictly on this year, I thought this movie was actually extremely cool and good. So
I ended up watching it a couple weeks ago, and I also was surprised at how good it was. Well,
it's really good.
James McAvoy, I wasn't surprised with, because he's obviously done great performances before. I knew he'd be good, but I didn't expect the rest of it to be as good as it was, or as funny as it was. Like,
it was funny.
Real funny moments in it.
It was.
But yeah, I watched it with like a group of people, and it was fun because we're like, "What are you doing? Just leave! Stop being so nice!" Like, it was fun. So I did enjoy that movie too.
Yeah, that was a good one. And then Warrior. I literally sat down.
Was that even last year?
Yeah, I think so. I literally sat down to watch Warrior, and I was like, I don't think I'm gonna like this, because it was a movie that our dad picked out, and usually the movies he likes are very like generic action movies.
I wouldn't be surprised we owned all of Liam Neeson's filmography.
Yeah, if it just has like that.
Hey, but he still likes Rambo.
Can you turn off the pizza, Gabe?
First Blood.
Bro, we got this.
Yeah, I mean, some like, I mean, that's a good movie, and sometimes they are good, and clearly sometimes they're good. Just because, like, I was like, I don't know, like, I don't think I'm gonna like it that much. Put in Warrior, and I was like, holy cow, like, this movie it shocked me, it surprised me. I think Warrior's incredible, and I need to own it. It's just that good. It's that good. It's really, really cool.
Bro, we gotta speed
But my winner for most surprising movie this year, it's still just gotta be Tarantula. It may not be as good as the other two movies that I mentioned, but to me it's just like, when I think back at this year, I wanna think back and remember Tarantula. You know, like, it was one of the big movies for me this year, so it's just gotta be surprising. So
that's awesome, bro. Yeah. The 50s big spider movie. All right. Well, going on to the next category, we have now Best Rewatch. Ooh, I was looking forward to this category.
Bro,
Yeah.
almost an hour.
Let's get it.
all right.
All right, so go ahead with your nominations. So,
All right.
rewatches movies we watched in 2024, but we had previously seen at some point.
Yeah, in any previous years. So my honorable mentions is stuff like The Mask, Martin Scorsese's Hugo,
Hugo?
The Seventh Seal. That one kind of, it's funny because, like, we watched that this year, but then we also rewatched it, I think. No, we watched it previous year. I don't even remember. Seventh Seal was good. And then Mockingbird, Monster House, and of course, Bride of Chucky. I watch it every year. But then is it okay if I go all the way through to, like, the winner and then we just switch over?
Yeah.
Is that okay?
Yeah, and also, like, for me, this category is like, you rewatch the movie, and sometimes we rewatch our favorite movies, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's more like you rewatched it, and you had a much better experience.
Yeah, there was something, like, notable about the rewatch experience. Yeah. So those are honorable mentions, but the 3 nominees I have this year is Peter Jackson's King Kong, and I can't wait to talk about this. Actually, let me talk about it. Let me talk about it now, and then I'll talk about them, and then, like, name them and talk about it. I think that works a little better for me. But we'll do King Kong. All right, so I watched the 4K extended edition for the first time this year, and I thought it was awesome. It's normally like a 3-hour movie as it is, but it was like they added like a pretty good chunk to it, and they added back in a couple of scenes, and there's a lot of little scenes like added in, but they added in like a Triceratops scene that was like the original movie back in the 30s, and that made me really excited. I was like, oh yeah, okay, I get it, you know. And it was so fun rewatching a movie that I personally think is super good. I like this movie a lot, but in a new way with new scenes and new stuff. So like the new stuff kind of really added a lot to this rewatch experience. So that has to be nominated.
Dude, we've been watching that movie for a while. I also really like that movie. How long is the extended edition?
It's 3 hours and 30 minutes. 3.5 hours. But it flies by. It flies by, bro. I'm not even joking.
It's good, but man.
It's actually good. I think it's underrated. And a lot of people like kind of dog on that movie a little bit, but watch the extended cut, man. Like, it's got some good stuff. There's like even little moments that are added back in where I was like, why did they cut that? Like, that's so good.
All right,
so yeah,
for time reasons.
That's so good. My second nominee is going to be Pacific Rim.
The first one?
Yeah.
Oh, bro, one of my favorites.
This was the year that we watched it again on 4K. And again, like, just, bro, like, the visual, like, it was like, I'm only used to watching this on DVD. And to jump that far, I feel like that made it so much more memorable to where I was like, yeah, Pacific Rim's good. It's like a B tier. It's pretty good. And then we watched it one night at Gavin's house on 4K, and just the colors, the sound, I just got sucked into it. I was just immersed, and I was like, you know what, this is actually way better than I thought it was. Dude. This movie's really, really good. So that rewatch, like, it brought it up quite a bit for me.
I didn't know that was going to be on your list. That's one of my personal favorite movies of all time. I love that movie.
It's so good. So good. And then the third rewatch, this one is overall less good than the other two as far as like the quality of the movie, I think, but I have to talk about it. It's Alien Covenant is my third nominee.
Okay, wait, pause. Before we go any further,
look,
let's just remember in 2023 when Gabe did his movie ranking, he gave Covenant an F tier. So let's hear what happened.
That's what we're going into this with. All right, so when I watched it originally, I watched Covenant first before Prometheus, and that was a huge mistake. I didn't think they were connected at all. And so I saw the story out of order. And so this year, we also rewatched Prometheus, but I already kind of liked that movie to begin with. And rewatching them in order this time helped a lot. And then also knowing that this movie is kind of like, you know, it's messy. It's going for like some just, you know, the standard Alien, kind of like just people dying side of things. And then also some of the philosophical Ridley Scott stuff. And knowing that made it a little bit more better and palatable. And I enjoyed it, I think, a lot more, even though I'm very mixed on the movie. It's definitely not F tier. It's not that bad. I still think there's plenty of good stuff in it. Like the whole thing with, I think his name David?
Michael Fassbender's character.
Michael Fassbender's character was still so cool. Yeah. I wish that was more of the movie. I still wish we got the true, just like complete Prometheus sequel.
That was going to be Ridley Scott's plan, but then the whole thing with Prometheus happened, and the studio was like, we need more xenomorph.
More xenomorph, yeah. So yeah, it was a lot more surprising this time rewatching it than the first time I watched it. So.
What would you give it now, as far as a tier?
It's probably still C tier. I mean, it's probably C tier now.
It's better than F tier.
Better than F tier, yeah. It's still C tier. I think there's some good stuff in it.
Dang.
But as far as the winner for best rewatch this year, it's got to be King Kong, man. Like that extended edition just added so much to the experience. So for me in 2024, the best rewatch was easily King Kong extended edition.
Bro, I feel like you should have had some ask nominated because you thought that was like a C tier movie, and that went to
King Kong is a good one.
Had to mention
Jackson.
it.
All right, watch that too.
All right, so my rewatch nominees best are going to be Fantastic Mr. Fox, The Sandlot, and Tron Legacy. All right, we'll talk about Mr. Fox. So Gage is obsessed with this movie. It's your third favorite movie of all time. And when he made me, I avoided it for a long time. I never watched any Wes Anderson movie. And so he introduced me to it. He finally got me to agree to watch it. And when I watched it, I thought it was fine. I thought it was okay. The visuals were great. The music was great. But the thing that put me off was like I wasn't used to the Wes Anderson dialogue, which is very witty and dry.
Yeah.
It's very like, and it's like, but no one's going like, you know, there's not a lot of emotion. It's very much like, yeah, I saw this thing one time, and then I went over here and did this, and then and then the other person's like, oh, that's very amusing. I actually did the same thing the other day, and it's like. So it was off-putting to me, so I didn't love it. Yeah. I thought of it more of like a C-tier movie at that time. I did go back and rewatch it in 2024, and I'm now used to Wes Anderson. I've seen Fantastic Mr. Fox, Isle of Dogs, Asteroid City, so I'm a little bit more well-versed in his style, and I can say thoroughly that Mr. Fox is great. It's an A-tier at least movie. I could even see it going to S tier on a rewatch. I very much enjoyed it. I think it had some really nice through lines and themes and things of that nature. And again, just like always, the visuals and music were incredible. So I actually really liked that movie on a rewatch. So sorry. I'm sorry for what I said.
Hey, that's okay. That's why it's here, bro.
The Sandlot. I think everyone is for the most part seen this movie. And, you know, most people see it as kids and whatever. I just went back and rewatched it. I figured, what the heck, let's do it. And it was so good.
Really good.
It's very, like, nostalgic for, like, a time and place and, like, kind of things that I didn't even experience myself. Like, I'm not into baseball or anything like that. I didn't live in a, neighborhood where, you know, a bunch of group of kids after school or during the summer would go hang out. Like, that was never my childhood experience. But something about it is just so, this is going to sound stupid, but it's so, like, American dream, you know?
Yeah.
It's just like, wow, this is so, like, this makes me feel so good and nostalgic for something I didn't experience.
Yeah.
Very feel-good movie, very funny movie. All the child actors are great. Like, you're lucky to get, like, one good child actor, but all the kids in this, you can tell they're having a good time, but they're really, like, in the roles. And it just had a really nice message about, like, you know, being nice. And, like, the main kid moves into this neighborhood, and he feels like an outsider, and one of the kind of like the leader of the cool guy of the group, like brings him on and like he's like, hey guys, like let's let this guy play with us or whatever. And it just has a really nice message. I think it's really good for kids, but even for adults, it's just very like feel good. So I was very surprised rewatching that, but I thought it was excellent. So, and then finally Tron Legacy, bro.
Yeah, you really like that one.
Tron Legacy is so good. Tron Legacy is awesome. But I love the aesthetic and the music. Oh, if I had watched Legacy for the first time in 2024, I'll just spoil it. The soundtrack category would have gone to this easily. Daft Punk soundtrack for Tron Legacy is S tier.
Really good.
It's incredible.
Dang.
I loved it. Pretty much everything about this movie. It is an A tier movie. It's almost just a 5 out of 5 movie. The only thing is the plot and the concepts they're playing with are really big and larger than life. It doesn't quite stick the landing with it, and I think the characters could have been fleshed out a little bit more. That's the only thing that holds it back for me. But other than that, I just think it's so good. And with that being said, I think Tron Legacy has to get best
Tron
rewatch.
Legacy?
I have become a huge Tron fan. The original
from that movie, right?
just from rewatching. I watched Tron the original in 2023 for the first time.
Yeah.
I rewatched it this year, and then I rewatched Tron Legacy this year. And both those movies, the first one's a lot more flawed than Legacy in my opinion, but I just love what they go for. I love what they offer. I love the setting, like again, the aesthetic, the neon. And we're getting a new movie.
Yeah.
Tron Ares with Jared Leto. I think either sometime this year or next year, and I am hype train for that.
That's crazy.
So this rewatch made me a huge Tron fan, so I got to give it to that.
Wow. All right. Well, let's move on to the next one.
All right.
So, next category is best visuals.
Ooh,
so this could be like practical effects, or like it could even be CGI. It could be anything, or even just the style. It could just be anything visually. Just like when you watch it, it's just eye candy. You know, like everything about how it looks is just like, I love that.
Bro,
you know, it tickles the visual senses. It tickles
It's candy for the eyeballs.
candy for the eyeballs.
The certain movie I'm thinking about is in your honorable mentions and non-nominated.
This is probably the one I have the most honorable mentions.
I'm gonna be mad at you if it's what I.
All right, so why don't you list your honorable mentions?
And then we move on to the real thing.
Yeah. All right.
And then you do it first. You'll do the real thing first.
Go ahead.
All right, so let me just like name a bunch of things.
For great visuals.
Because let me just say, any other year, any of these could have been nominated. Because like there's
This is a hard one.
this is so hard to pick. There's so many good ones. I'm just gonna like rapid fire name them though. Alien Romulus, Tarantula, the spider effect's just so cool. Eraserhead, Starship Troopers, CGI is a little dated, but there's still some practical effects. I just like the way it looks nice. RoboCop, Arachnophobia, some cool freaking shots in that. Terrifier 1 through 3, all 3 of them. The Blob 88.
That would have been Gabriel's pick.
It's up there. 2001: A Space Odyssey. I still can't figure out how they did it.
Yeah.
Fantastic Planet. Never seen anything like it. The Witch. That end scene especially. The Wolf House.
Whoa.
Everything. Darjeeling Limited.
Wes Anderson.
Yeah, great style. Come on. I want to live in that movie. And then Persona.
Oh yeah. Wow, Persona didn't make the cut. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Come on,
All right.
made
Yeah, in
it.
terms of visuals.
All right, yeah.
So now, do you have any honorable mentions?
I have one.
You have
one. And
I had like 50.
I feel bad that because I had to have this honorable mention because it's not my top 3. I felt bad because it is so good. My honorable mention for best visuals of 2024 has got to be Taxi Driver. I love the visuals in that movie. From the opening shot is
It's a vibe.
the fog and the taxi, driving at night, you're looking at the lights, the red lights, and then the lights on the cab. It's like, oh, dude, the music hits. I'm like, dude, this is cinema.
Yeah, it is.
But it's not in my top 3, but I had to shout out Taxi Driver. This is Phil Warner.
Bro, we're like an hour.
Taxi Driver's that good.
It's so good. All right, so my top 3 best visuals are going to be Mad Max Fury Road.
Oh, yeah, I mean, of course.
Apocalypse Now.
Okay, yeah.
And The Tale of the Princess Kaguya.
Yes! Dude, 2 of my top 3 movies have shown up in this.
I know.
That's crazy.
Yeah. Do we want to talk about it or you want to go to yours first?
You should just go straight to the winner.
I think it's okay if I do mine first.
Yeah, let's do it.
And then
we can talk about them.
All right. And I'm gonna go all the way. So, all right, Mad God.
Of course.
So these are my nominees.
Of course.
We got Mad God. Probably the best visuals I've ever seen in any movie. Might spoil what the winner's gonna be, but it's like it's so far above everything.
Calm down,
I just like bring it up and I'm like, it's just that. Let me like pretend.
Heard of a Mad God?
everyone pretend like you didn't hear me say any of that for a second. Let's at least like acknowledge the other two. This is gonna be surprising, but I have to give it to them. The 1950s Ant movie.
Oh yeah, I was like, what is that?
Yeah, I gotta give it to that. Now look.
That should have been most surprising.
I think. Actually, yeah, that would be. That also is a surprising movie, but them, like, there a lot of these other movies. You can tell they have like there's more budget, there's more practical effects, there's more whatever visuals in them. But I think I had to ultimately give it to them because I enjoyed the movie a lot, but I also really still don't know how they pulled off some of this stuff. Like the biggest thing that just blows my mind in terms of visuals is how these animatronics, they're made in the 50s, are able to like walk around, you know, like they can walk and they're like, you know, the animatronics.
They made like hundreds of them.
And then when they get burned or attacked, they go limp, like they fall over like ragdoll. And I'm like, how did they do that? If it's an animatronic, like animatronics are like steel, especially in the 50s. Like how did they get it to just like fall over? And it looks real, it looks convincing. And plus, I mean, there's just plenty of them in there. Like they definitely made a lot of them. So I just thought it just blew my mind, especially for the time period and like putting my headspace there. It's the best 50s, currently probably my favorite 50s movie, like in all, but
that's crazy.
It just blew my mind.
It's like, it has a lot of the same story beats as Godzilla, and they actually released before Godzilla. So.
Yeah, by a little bit, same year, I think.
Yeah.
But my third nominee has got to be Waking Life, the Richard Linklater movie. In terms of visuals,
Just look at it.
Like, now, Kylie had a hard time watching it. It gave her a headache. So I will admit, like, it's not something everyone can get into. But I just think it's incredibly ambitious, the visual style he goes for. Because it's... everything's moving and it changes art styles basically every other scene. And everything's just looks weird and distorted. But in the context of the movie being a dream, it really fits, and I think it's really cool. I feel like no one has captured this in a movie before. Like, there's plenty of these other movies that have like mentioned that probably do have like overall better effects, but this whole movie had to be like conjured up through like what would the subconscious look like, and I'm like, that's just got to be nominated. It's just that good. But if it wasn't already obvious, Mad God is definitely going to be the winner.
No way!
Mad God is, it's just the best visuals I've ever seen in any movie. Every single time, I can't wait to rewatch this movie 100 more times. It's that good, and the visuals are insane. And the whole thing was made by hand. Like, that's crazy to think about. So yeah, it's got to be that.
Yeah, I got to get around to watching that one for sure.
It's so good. It's not even that long either, which makes it easy to like watch it over and over. You know, it's so good. So yeah, best visuals got to be Mad God.
Dang.
So, yeah.
All right. Well, so obviously Mad Max Fury Road. I mean, just look at it.
Just look at it.
It's Mad Max Fury Road.
I mean, visually stunning, but also just like the effects and the stunt work is just incredible. It's crazy the stuff they're able to pull off. People like on these giant poles, like swinging around on cars and strapping people to the fronts of cars and crashing cars and stuff. Like, it's crazy stuff. But even there's a huge like CGI scene, and it might just be the best scene in the movie. It's the sandstorm scene, and if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. It is like, you enter this sandstorm and it is like apocalypse. Like, what is happening? It is so awesome. So that's also like an incredible movie. But Apocalypse Now, very surprising movie. A war movie, but the way they just went about shooting this movie is so cool. The use of color and like it's almost like the further down into the narrative and they're going down a river, the further down the river you go, the more like saturated and like dream-like it gets. Until by the end it's very like really harsh, not harsh colors, but like really bright contrasted colors, and you're just like, dude, what? And then of course the scene where he's like coming out of the pond or the water, which is in like a lot of the posters, like it's cinema.
It looks good.
Yeah, it's really cool. Again, I wasn't expecting the visuals in like this war movie to go as hard as they did, but they look great. And then, of course, Tale of the Princess Kaguya. I mean, what is there to say? Maybe the most stunning 2D hand-drawn visuals ever created.
Ever.
I think I'm gonna have to go with Kaguya. I mean,
wow.
you just look at it. There's so many hand-drawn animated movies that I've seen in my life, and they just don't even come close to how visually gorgeous this one is.
They just don't.
That scene where she runs out of the little temple area.
It's the best one. Holy crap.
I was on cloud 9. I was like what? I was like, that there is no, you're like ascending.
I ascended after
like the
seeing that.
SpongeBob meme towards him standing and then he's floating in the next
Yeah,
shot.
it's incredible.
It doesn't get better than that.
We're halfway done, and we are
All right, so
54 minutes in.
So
we're making great time, Gabe. Calm down.
calm down, boy.
All right, so I guess I'll introduce the next one, right?
Yeah, go for it.
All right, we're going into when I was really looking.
Yeah, you are gonna like this one.
Best score or soundtrack to any film we saw in 2024, and I'm so excited about this. But let's hear your nominees and honorable mentions and whatnot.
All right, couple honorable mentions. I gotta mention Civil War. That was really good with the soundtrack. I actually listened to some of that later.
Civil War. It had a soundtrack.
The movie Pi was also good. I saw the TV Glow. Sonic 3. They included
obviously.
Barbie and Trap. Those are honorable mentions.
Interesting.
I like Trap. Trap has good music.
I don't even remember a single song from that movie.
It's because Shyamalan's daughter is a pop star, and she made a
right.
The
whole
whole
album.
movie is music.
Yeah, I forgot.
She made all of the songs, like a whole album of pop songs specifically for that movie. So that's a good. I didn't think about that. That's a good choice.
I was trying to think of everything else. Right?
Is it okay if I do nominees?
Go ahead.
Is it okay? All right. So my 3 nominees for best soundtrack is starting off with RoboCop. I hum the main theme all year long.
That's pretty good.
All year long. As you know, it's like I wish I could say it was more than just that, but that main theme just slaps. It's that good, and I still hum it. And then my second nominee has got to be One Piece Red.
That's a left field pick.
That movie is
a deep cut.
That one's not been mentioned at all
Music, bro, goes hard.
in any of these other ones. I listened to the soundtrack more than any other soundtrack in this year. As weird as that is. Yeah, I thought it was extremely good. And I haven't even watched the dub. I think they dubbed all the music, if I'm not mistaken, because they got like Amelie to like redo a lot of the songs in English. I'm pretty sure, at least. I'm pretty sure. But yeah, I just thought it was extremely good. I still listen to them, and it just reminds me of that movie. And just it's basically a musical. It really is, because it's just like stuff will happen, and then goes into a song. And yeah, it's one of my favorite musicals probably. So yeah, really good soundtrack. And then my third nominee has got to be the Darjeeling Limited.
Ooh.
Interesting. That's good music.
So good music,
bro.
dude. So good.
Well, I guess Wes Anderson is known for having good music in his movies.
Yeah, but it's probably the best music.
Over Fantastic?
Probably.
Dang.
Might be. It might be, John. Yeah.
What we doing, Dutch?
What we doing, Dutch? It might be the best Wes Anderson soundtrack
It's really good.
of them all.
Yeah, you haven't seen it.
And as much as I like One Piece Red's soundtrack and the music in it, and even though I've probably listened to it more, I think I realistically like Darjeeling soundtrack more. So
Wow.
I'm gonna have to go Darjeeling Limited.
Gage, you know that song, you know?
No, that song? Bro, I guess I gotta go on a Wes Anderson
Binge,
marathon
yeah.
this year. But
Yeah, so
that's crazy.
So Darjeeling, best soundtrack of the year.
All right, good choices. All right, so I'm gonna go. I don't have any honorable mentions because I feel like if I had started with honorable mentions, I would have just gone on forever. So I kept it really tight, top 3. I'm gonna go with The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Okay, yeah.
I'm gonna go with Blade Runner.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna go with Taxi Driver.
Okay.
These are some heavy hitters
Those
here.
are some good ones.
So, the good and the bad and the ugly. I mean, there is not a more influential Western score in cinema history. There's not. There's not.
Yeah.
It is so like sampled and influenced so many other soundtracks, specifically Westerns, but even other things, and even people like playing off of Westerns. You know the. Like, dude, everyone knows that.
Yeah.
So that was one thing, even though it's a 3-hour-long Western, I didn't absolutely love the film, but the soundtrack kept me engaged. The soundtrack, I was like, oh, this is like really good. There's even more dramatic scenes. I remember specifically the scene where the bad, out of the three guys, sees like the soldiers and they're all like kind of in this room and they're all like, you know, dying and everything. The song that plays over that scene is like really good. I'll have to show it to you, but yeah. So I was just really surprised about how solid the soundtrack was in that movie. Blade Runner, what's there to say, bro? Awesome vibes, really like jazzy synthwave kind of vibes. The love theme on that soundtrack is peak.
It is so good,
and it's also really good at like pulling you into the atmosphere of the movie.
Yeah.
And it works really well with the visuals. Very similar to Taxi Driver, honestly, as well. Like, the visuals and the sound, the music, like, work so well together. It just pulls you into the vibes of the movie. A lot more, like, jazz influence in Taxi Driver. As far as what I think
Which
the best
one?
is, that's so hard.
If you had to pick one.
Oh, that's so hard. I think if I'm picking one, I'm going to go Blade Runner.
Ooh.
Blade Runner has an incredible soundtrack.
Let's go.
So,
that's hype.
what can I say? That's a hard category. That's a hard category.
That's a good soundtrack, too.
Oh, yeah.
You want to introduce? You want me to?
You go ahead. We're alternating.
So we got Best Actress.
We're getting into the heavy hitter categories now.
So now it's final stretch right here.
It's on.
So Best Actress, just like, I mean, it's what it sounds like, but it's also like what really, like what.
He's choking.
He's choking. It's like the actress is acting that stood out to us the most this year. Really, like, you know, made an impact in some way, maybe.
Who gave the most impactful. Or like incredible performance
or memorable?
Yeah.
So yeah. So you want to do yours first?
Sure. So my nominees are Alicia Vikander, Ex Machina.
Okay.
She plays the AI.
Yeah.
I thought that was really layered. We'll talk about
that. Was good. That was good.
Sissy Spacek in the original Carrie.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
And
I need to watch that.
Toni Collette from Hereditary.
That's a good one too.
Dude. So we'll talk about these for a second. Alicia Vikander. I've never heard of her. Hadn't seen her in anything before. I watched Ex Machina, and her performance is so like layered. You know, there's a lot of nuance to what she's doing, right? Because at first you think she's just being stone cold robot, right? She's just doing the whole that spiel. But then she's like, you know, behind the scenes of Oscar Isaac's character, the creator of the robot, like she's trying to like help me, like get us out of here. We can get out of here, blah, 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 right? She's playing that performance. But then on top of that, she's actually playing the guy she's talking to because she just wants to get out for herself.
Yeah.
So like there's a lot that has to be conveyed physically and also like verbally. And I think she sells it very well, you know? Because it would have been very easy to kind of like, you know, be a little too obvious with what her plan was through the acting and the way she says things. But no, I think, again, obviously a lot of that's writing, but I think her performance is a huge part of that. So she was my favorite performance in that movie. Sissy Spacek and Carrie, obviously, bro. I thought she plays such a tragic character and just plays it so well. You can tell she's very mentally damaged. You know, she's scared, she's introverted, she wants to be better. She has like positive notes and moments in the movie. The scene in the movie, she just like, her performance is so visceral. Like I always say she like looks like an alien. Like, but just because her whole like demeanor is just like, and moving stuff around with her mind. Like,
dang.
It's crazy. She was nominated for Best Actress of the Year at the Oscars for that.
And that's crazy for horror.
I know. So I thought she was incredible in the movie. And then Toni Collette in Hereditary. Guys, I'll just tell you right now, this is the winner. Toni Collette in Hereditary.
Is that good?
Is so awesome.
Wow.
Like, and you watched the movie, right? I mean,
Yeah.
she has a lot on her shoulders. She has to be, you know, like, she has to be very sad, a lot of emotion. She has to be angry. She has to be terrifying. She has to be terrifying. You know, she's supposed to be scary in the latter half, but then she's scared earlier. Like, there's so much she has to do. And a lot of the movie rides on her performance particularly because she is kind of the central character. Even though we spend a lot of time with other characters, she's the one that's like really the emotional core of the movie. So, yeah, I think that she just pulled off. I think it is an absolute crime that she was not nominated at the Oscars.
Yeah, that's
crime.
Horrible. That's horrible.
And everyone says that's one of like the biggest like snubs in like Oscar history was Toni Collette in Hereditary. Like, come on, guys.
Come on.
So yeah, she absolutely gets my win here. She was awesome, and she's actually become, after I've seen her in a few other things, she's like one of my favorite actresses now, like working today. And she's gonna be in that movie Mickey 17, Bong Joon-ho. So I'm really hyped for that.
Dang.
So yeah, Toni Collette kills it.
Wow.
Let's go yours.
All right, so my nominees for Best Actress is Linda Hamilton from Terminator 2.
That's a
T2.
cinephile thing.
That's a good one.
T2. I like specifically T2 and not T1. That was
Why? What?
like the
Yeah.
performance.
Yeah.
Because in the first one, she's just like a kid who is scared and trying to run away. But in the
Yeah,
second one, it's a lot more nuanced.
Yeah, it was a lot more nuanced, and it just like, it was so good, I could never accept her getting recasted. And then when she did in Genesis,
Ooh.
I was like, I just don't accept it. I don't
This
want
movie
it.
isn't real.
I don't want it. She was just so good, and definitely was like a very memorable one for me. Another one that did stand out to me a little bit this year was, this is a weird one, but it's Clara Bow from Wings, which was the first movie to ever win an Oscar.
This is a crazy poll.
That's
What the heck?
that's a crazy deep cut. Yeah, me and Kylie watched it. It's a silent film. It was like 1927, I think. And I really like it when a movie focuses more on like visuals, like visual acting and mannerisms and stuff, and that's all they could do because it's a silent film. There's no like dialogue spoken, and I really thought she did a great job. I was like, wow, she's really cool, and like the story definitely works in her favor too, just making her more endearing, and she just really pulled off that type of character without any words, necessarily being spoken. And I just thought she did a really good like visual performance, physical performance, I guess you'd say. So that was really good. And then third nominee has got to be Saoirse Ronan from Lady Bird.
Oh,
That was a good one.
Yeah.
That was a really good one. That was really good. That was really good. Yeah, she is absolutely killing it. That was probably one of the best parts about that movie, honestly. And that was the first movie I watched with her in it, and it kind of opened up a whole new can of worms, with what she's been in, including Little Women. But I do think she's a little bit better in Lady Bird overall. That was a really good movie. But as far as the winner, it's got to be T2. Like when I think back to this year, I'm always gonna remember Linda Hamilton, T2. Like she's just one of my favorites now, and I wish she was in more things. But yeah, she's got to be Actress of the Year for me.
Dude, yeah. Again, like I was saying, in T2, she has a really interesting performance of like, again, in the beginning, she's like acting like she's not crazy. She's not crazy, but like she's pretending to put on persona that she's not crazy so she can get out. And when she realizes she's not getting out, then she freaks out.
Yeah.
But then she's like sad because she can't see her kid. She lost Kyle Reese. And then she gets out and she's like more like robotic. She's like, I'm gonna kill, more like a Terminator.
Yeah.
And then she has that like really good heart moment where she doesn't kill Miles Dyson's whole family.
Good.
Like there's a lot. There's a lot.
It's a lot, and she's so good, and she did all of it well, I thought.
Yeah, I liked her a lot too. So that was good. All right.
I'm so excited for this one.
Best actor.
Yes.
Oh yeah, and this is the one I have the most nominations, which is or honorable mentions, which is 2.
I have like 20.
No,
not really. I don't have 20 for this.
So
I have 10.
I have 10.
Go ahead and let's start Gage off here at Best Actor.
So real quick, honorable mentions are Ethan Hawke in Adopt a Highway, Zac Efron in Iron Claw. That was really freaking good. Bill Skarsgård in Nosferatu. Even though the mustache is a little goofy, he killed it.
His voice too.
His voice. He disappears in that role.
Yeah. Yeah, that's
amazing.
Good. That's good.
Hugh Grant in Heretic.
What?
Kieran Culkin in A Real Pain.
Oh,
and
I think he might get nominated this year.
at the
actual
legit
Oscars.
the actual
Golden
Oscars.
Globe?
Yeah, I think he won something like that.
That's awesome.
And then Joaquin Phoenix in Two Lovers. Him and I don't know if did I mention my last honorable mentions? I don't think I did, but Gwyneth Paltrow definitely in the same movie would also be like an honorable mention for me. They made the movie what it is, and I think they made it that good.
Bro, you're
But the nominees, I took this one very seriously.
Yeah,
I'll be honest, because there's so many ones where I was like, who do I
I'm
pick?
surprised all the honorable mentions were Ethan Hawke.
The ones that really just I feel like I'm gonna remember and that stick with me the most from this year, made an impact, all that stuff. The first, let's do them. First nominee has got to be Joaquin Phoenix in Come On, Come On.
Okay.
It's so good.
There's gonna be a Joaquin.
Joaquin is so good at being like very disturbed in movies.
Disturbed person.
Very disturbed.
I don't
But
like
this
him.
is a movie where he's like the coolest dude ever, and he can also pull that off. And I don't know, man. Like I think this movie works so well, largely due to him and the performances of everyone. But I think he absolutely freaking kills it. I think about this movie a lot. I think about, of course, we talked about visuals, and it was nominated for that too. But I think the visuals accompanied by like his acting, and he's just such a warm person. And the whole movie is about him trying to, learn to communicate his feelings and build his bond with this kid. And I feel like that emotionally sucks you into his character too. And he just nails it. And he's also funny. He has some funny moments and lightheartedness. Yeah, it's one of the best movies I watched this year. And it's one of the best performances, I think. Yeah, it is probably one of the best movies ever made.
Nice.
Another nominee has got to be David Howard Thornton from any of the Terrifier movies.
What?
This guy is insane, dude.
Dang.
Remember what I said about Clara Bow and like the physical performance?
Yeah.
That's everything he has to do, because he doesn't. Art the Clown, his character doesn't speak a single word in any of these movies. So the entire point of the character is to have a very visual performance, and he's so memorable without saying anything. He doesn't say anything in any of these movies, but he's the best part. He's so cool, and I love what he does with it. And it's just like I think about that character so much. I think about like what he does with the character,
Smile,
and it wouldn't work nearly as well without him. And I know there was another person who played Art the Clown, but I just think that David Howard Thornton's going to go down in history as like one of the best in terms of like horror slashers and stuff.
He has definitely helped make Art the Clown cement him as a modern day horror icon, which is incredible. You don't get a lot of those nowadays.
We might be getting to an era of all.
He's so good and iconic. I'm always going to remember it. And then my third nominee has got to be Nick Nolte in Affliction.
No way!
No.
Nick Nolte.
Nick Nolte, or is it Nick
That's
Nolte?
the bear from Over the Hedge.
I think it's Nick Nolte.
I know who you're talking. I know who it is.
He's the guy in Warrior, but he's also in
Yeah.
Affliction, a Paul Schrader movie.
Interesting.
And this movie, when we finished it for the first time, I was like, I think that was really good. Then I was thinking about it more, and I was like, you know what? I think it was because of like his performance that made it like so much better. Because you have a character who has this bad childhood with this like really, really awful father, and he's very abusive in almost every metric, and he's just so bad. But Nick Nolte as an adult, I feel like he's really good and highly underrated in this movie because he captures those lingering feelings and emotions all the way throughout his life, and then when he gets to be an adult and like how that's affecting him at that point. I feel like there's a lot of subtlety there. I feel like that was really what made the movie as good as it was in the end. And I guess as far as a winner, it kills me, dude. Like it really does, because all three of these are so freaking good. But as far as the one that, as much I want to give it to Nick Nolte so bad, But as far as like what I'm gonna remember, I think I gotta go with David Howard Thornton. I think it's gotta be him. I think just the visuals of his performance are so fun.
What?
I gotta do it.
This is the biggest upset of the night.
I gotta
Dude,
go with
you are not going for Joaquin Phoenix?
No.
What?
I gotta go with David, bro.
I'm actually shocked.
I'm a little upset because that's like my favorite one. That's like my top 4 movies, bro. Like, come on.
I know it's really good, and as a movie, it's definitely better than like Terrifier movies. But
bro.
I just love I love that performance. I love the visuals. I love the visuals of it, man. Like it's just he's so good at being weird and creepy and funny, and yeah, that's just he's so memorable. I'm always gonna remember his performance. So,
bro, all right.
I gotta go with him.
Hi, Gavin.
I gotta recover from that. All right, well, best actor. My honorable mentions are going to be Dave Bautista from Knock at the Cabin. Very underrated. That was an incredible performance. He's the best performance and maybe even the best part of the movie.
Wow.
Jack Nicholson from One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. I could have gone with Jack Nicholson from anything, but I really liked him in that movie because he's doing his normal, like, low-key psychotic stuff, but he also has, like, a lot of heart in his performance where he starts to care about these people.
Yeah.
So I thought it was a really good best of both worlds for him. So those are my honorable mentions. It was hard, too. I was having a hard time, with my top 3. But I'm going to ultimately go with my top 3 being James McAvoy from Split.
Oh, okay.
He's playing literally like 10 different characters. Yeah. And not only is he saying the things that these characters are saying, but he brings on the performance in his face and his mannerisms and his actions. Like, he becomes different people, and he's one guy. I think that is incredible. And there's not a lot of actors who can pull that off well, and he pulls it off outstandingly. I mean, from every character from, like, the monster, the beast, that's what it is. Yeah. From, like, the little kid, like, who's dancing around in his room.
He is so funny.
It's from the mother who's, like, very stoic and proper. Like, it's incredible.
Yeah.
So I think James McAvoy, again, snubbed from the Oscars. What the heck?
Yeah.
Well, how are you going to tell me that wasn't Oscar worthy?
Yeah, I know, that reeks.
So, Split is actually a movie I love a lot, but I do think James McAvoy might be the best part of it.
So, oh yeah.
I know you're not as high on the movie, but
his performance was crazy.
It's incredible.
It was really good.
So yeah, then Willem Dafoe, one of my personal favorite actors from The Lighthouse.
Oh, wow. Okay,
yeah, we're expecting that.
I didn't see that coming.
Again, The Lighthouse, a movie that we feel similarly on. Not a fan. I think it's more C tier. Yeah. The visuals are very, very good, and the atmosphere is very palpable. I love that. But the best part is Pattinson and Dafoe working off each other in their performances. I give a slight edge to Willem Dafoe. I am a big Dafoe fan, but I just think that they make the movie, and he just goes full on into this like crazy dialect and the things he's saying, and his whole monologue I think is what really sold me, where he's like cursing Pattinson's character, and like it's crazy. He's also very funny, but I keep quoting it, but you're fond of me lobster, ain't you? I just thought that his performance was very, very good. And like he just sells like what I think the movie was going for. I don't even know really, but like I think their performances are the best part of the movie, and I love him in that movie. And Javier Bardem, No Country for Old Men.
Oh,
how could I not say that, bro?
So
oh my
good.
Gosh, dude.
Oh my gosh.
Maybe like
the best performance of all time. I mean,
it feels like. Are we not going to talk about this? Are we not going to talk about how Javier Bardem is the best actor?
He might be the best actor ever.
Seriously though, I think it is and there have been studies on this of the most. I'm not kidding.
This is hype.
There have been studies about the most realistic depiction of a psychopath in a movie, and real psychologists kind of like went over a bunch of movies and stuff, and they said that Anton Chigurh, Javier Bardem's performance is the most accurate to real life psychopaths, because he feels very like distant and like he's just kind of in his own world, but he's very calm. And he doesn't have any remorse. Like, when he kills people in, like, these horrible ways with this freaking, like, little air gun thing.
Whatever that is.
and like it's just no emotion. The scene where he gets like taken into custody and he just escapes and just walks out, like
Just leave.
and, like he's not running, he just walks. Like he's terrifying. It's one of the scariest grounded like villain performances. Like people like that exist. And that's scary.
It's so good. I gotta rewatch that movie. I gotta rewatch it.
And then I'd be remiss to not mention the gas station scene. Oh, see, I don't even love No Country for Old Men like that, but that scene, bro, I was levitating. I was like,
The SpongeBob meme came back.
the scene, dude, they just talk. Nothing
Just
happens.
talk.
He's talking to the gas station guy, and it just gets scarier and scarier and more tense. You're like, he's gonna kill him.
He's gonna kill that
He's gonna
man.
kill him. And he's like, he's having a normal conversation. Gas station guy's like, you know, saying this and that and the other, and he's like, why would you say that? And he's like, oh, you know, blah 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 blah. Like, well, what makes you do that? And then like whatever, you're just like, ooh. And then he gives him the coin, and because he flips the coin, and you're like, oh crap! Like I know what's going on. Gas station guy doesn't know what's going on, and so he flips the coin. He's like, yeah, oh, guess you get to see another day, whatever. And then he gives him the coin. He's like, you can keep it. And he's about to put it in his pocket. Don't put it in your pocket. Then it'll just become another coin. Because it is. And then he leaves.
What the frick?
Dude, goosebumps.
Dude.
Guys, it's going to happen.
Come on.
So good.
Let's go.
I love the other performances. And I even maybe like their like them as actors more and more stuff, but like that performance is chilling and holy crap. I don't remember if he did win the Oscar or not. I think he did. But
I don't remember, but he
holy
should.
crap.
He
I
should.
think he won Best Supporting Actor.
I want to see him in everything, bro.
Everything. Javier Bardem is the king, bro.
Yeah. Anyways, we got to move on because I'll just keep talking about it.
I don't remember where we're at. Which is it your turn, my turn?
I think no, it's you.
Me?
Yep, you're introducing.
Okay. All right, so we're down to two categories. Second to last category is the best movie from 2024. So this is movies that came out in the year 2024. We've been talking about movies from all across the decades. This is only movies that came out this year and what we think is the best of this year. So
Yeah,
that being said, I suppose it goes to you.
it does. All right, so best movie that released in 2024. Two honorable mentions. The Wild Robot and Sonic 3 are both nominations.
Good.
I thought they were
Good.
both very good in their own ways, but didn't quite crack top 3 for me. This was a good year for film, I feel like.
There was a lot of good ones.
I watched a lot of great movies.
It was a lot.
But my top 3 are going to be Alien Romulus, Civil War, and Deadpool and Wolverine.
I know what it is.
It may be obvious,
I think I know what's gonna win.
but let's talk for a second here. Deadpool and Wolverine, best Deadpool movie, but also like best Marvel movie since Endgame. High key. It's so great. It's funny. It's got great action, great heart. I mean, I think I said in the last video, like, it's the best version of this kind of movie that I think we could have gotten. And
Yeah.
I just enjoyed the heck out of the theater experience. I thought it was so fun.
Yeah.
I loved that movie. Civil War, great movie. Again, we talked a lot
So
about this,
good.
but like, I just love the approach, the execution, the visuals, the sound design, the music.
It just works.
It's fired on all cylinders.
Yeah.
And I thought that it was very thought-provoking. And I think that was the point. I think the whole point was to make us think, like, what are the consequences of a situation like this? What kind of people would emerge in a situation like this? What would you do in a situation like this, you know?
Yeah.
I think that was what the movie was trying to do.
It's so good.
And I think Alex Garland succeeded on that.
It's a masterpiece.
And it was my favorite 2024 film before Alien Romulus came out.
We all know.
Dude,
We all knew.
It was obvious.
It was gonna be Romulus.
I love the Alien series. The original Alien is in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. I absolutely love it. I wanted so bad for the newest Alien movie that was coming out to go back to the aesthetic and the atmosphere and the vibe of the original 2 movies. And that's exactly what this was. I think they did great with, the visuals, the sound design. Fede Alvarez specifically went back to try to find all the old sound effects and tapes and everything that they used for the original movie, so it would be authentic. He committed to practical effects for most of the movie, and I thought it looked great. The aliens looked disgusting and horrifying and awesome. The face huggers were terrifying, and I loved that.
Yeah.
I thought they were great. They had
so
a
good.
bunch of great scenes. But even like the CG scenes where they're like looking at space and like, Kaylee Spaney's like flying out in space and like the ring is like, the planet ring is like destroying stuff. Like that was awesome,
Yeah.
So again, I thought it was everything that I could have wanted from a new Alien film. Just back to basics, back to horror, back to the gore and kills. But I thought we even got interesting characters out of Kaylee Spaney's character and David Johnson's character. He plays the AI and the synthetic Andy. Yes.
Yeah, Andy.
I thought it was a very nuanced performance again because he's a damaged, synthetic who was kind of raised alongside Rain is Kaylee Spaney's character as like siblings. And then he gets like the update and he changes accent and his whole demeanor changes and he's like smarter and more capable. But then it's like he's kind of more cold to Rain, and even Rain's like, where's my brother, and he's trying to fight between what's good for the company and what's good for Rain, so like that whole, like there was interesting stuff going on there, and I liked that. I did want a little bit more from the characters than just like generic horror movie characters, and we got that, I feel like. So for me, it's a 5 out of 5 S tier movie, and by far the best film of 2024. I loved it, and I own it on 4K. Enough said.
Wow.
It's also like a top 15, 20 maybe of all time.
Of all time.
I'm
Wow.
saying, bro. I'm saying,
Wow. All right, so there was a lot of good movies that came out this year. There was a lot that I liked. Just a few movies I just want to honorable mention. Miyazaki and the Heron. It was a documentary about the making of The Boy and the Heron. Me and Gabe loved that. It was so good.
He's like low-key like the best director.
I could watch like 10 of these documentaries, honestly. Like they just never get old. Alien Romulus was extremely good. Just barely outside of the nominees. Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes, A Real Pain, Here. I actually liked Here a lot. A lot of people didn't like it, but I did. Speak No Evil, Juror Number 2, and Deadpool and Wolverine.
Oh, yeah. Wow, two of my nominations were
in there.
In your honorable mentions. Okay.
But my 3 nominees, starting with Sonic 3.
Oh, wow. That was honorable mention for me.
It was so good, dude.
It was really good.
It's everything. Like, I thought...
Sonic 3 is everything. That's Gage's review.
That literally... Visuals are so good, but I thought, like, CGI is good. Music was cool.
Oh.
I thought, like, it's just the perfect movie.
Low-key. Nothing wrong with
Nothing wrong. It was funny. It was one of the funniest movies of the year for me, man. Like, Jim Carrey is so funny. It was like a dream come true, honestly.
Bug zapper.
Because like we played Sonic Adventure 2. We played all the Sonic games growing up, but like I remember playing
the
that.
most nostalgic video game for me.
And then seeing that movie be translated into film. Like that's insane. Like that's
a long time for this.
It's like a dream, bro.
Yeah.
Like it's crazy. And I thought genuinely the story with Shadow just made the movie actually good on its own. Even if you walked into it not knowing anything, you're like, wow, that Shadow guy is actually kind of compelling,
Yeah, I thought that because that was always compelling. It was in Sonic Adventure 2. And I really wanted them to expound a bit more on that in the movie, and they did. Like the whole sequence where they're like getting the relationship between Shadow and Maria, becoming friends, being outside and looking at the stars. Like I was like, this is what we needed. This is really good.
Yeah, it was genuinely so good. There's only a few nitpicks, problems I have with the movie, like the way they handled Maria. Oh, wait, I don't know if I want to say it. It might be spoilers, but what happens to Maria if you haven't played the games or seen the movie. I just thought that could have been handled a little better, both in like what happens and also I wish they had dwelled more on like the like Shadow's reactions, and maybe that's all throughout the movie a little bit. Just more Shadow, please. Like he's that good. So Sonic 3 just blew my mind, and I had to. It's just top 3 of the year. I just thought it was so fun, and I loved it. Push the button. That's so funny. All right. Another nominee is Heretic.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
Top 20 movies
You could
for
say
sure.
this was a film.
This was a film. This didn't work for everyone.
I don't know who they are.
It was made for me. Like it was a movie I just absolutely loved. It could have ended up so bad, but it was anything but. It was so good. And it's really just like a lot of it's conversations, but somehow they're scary. Somehow these conversations about theology are kind of terrifying. And then what the movie does later, because a lot of the movies it's playing against faith. But then there's stuff that happens in the movie that sort of veers into the other direction, to where the movie, especially the ending, kind of ends on a note of miracles do happen. There is an element of this world that is kind of strange and can't be explained. And I was like, yes, frick yeah, that's so good. Yeah, this movie
Gave like a standing ovation in the theater.
It was better than I could have imagined. I was so sucked into this movie. I can't wait to rewatch it on 4K. It's so good. Then my other nominee is Civil War as well. We both had it in there because me and Gavin both loved it. We both thought it was S tier as soon as we watched it. This movie makes me cry every time. It captures.
Haley Spaney was in that too.
She was in that too. She's so good.
She had a heck of a year.
I thought the acting was great. It's a vibe. Like there's something this movie. I don't know how they did it. I don't know how Alex Garland did it, but he somehow captured something so specific that I've never seen in a movie before, and I can't wait to rewatch it again.
Yeah.
It's hard to kind of to explain what that is, but it's just like there's a feeling I get watching. There's an X factor watching this that I don't get with any other movie, and I'll watch it and I'm like, wow, like I'm feeling about to sneeze. But
Get Doc! Doc, get covered!
Definitely one of this year's best. And I've watched it twice now, and it still holds up. It's still good. Still that good.
That scene with the burning woods and they're driving through. Oh!
It's got the vibes.
She's like about to throw up.
Oh!
It's better than I thought it was gonna be.
It's really good.
But as far as the winner,
We all know.
by a slight edge, it's got to be Heretic. Heretic's got to be my favorite movie of 2024 that came out in this year. It's got to be Heretic. It was just that good.
Bro.
So yeah.
Bro!
So I think we're down to our last
this
one.
is it.
Last category.
Strap in, boys.
Last.
It's gonna be a bumpy ride. Oh! Papers together.
Yeah, let me get the collection. I just don't want people to like see it from the back,
All right, guys. We are now on the best film that we watched for the first time in 2024.
Out of everything.
Yep.
Minus rewatches.
Minus rewatches. You want to start or you want me to start? I don't care.
Mm-hmm.
This is big. This is big.
This is big bar territory.
Gosh. Why don't you do it? You do
All
it
right,
first.
I'll start.
You go first.
I'll start with my honorable mentions.
There's a few.
I watched some really great stuff this year. I am going to give honorable mentions to Kill Bill Volume 1. Right now, currently, my favorite Tarantino film. It throws back to a lot of martial arts cinema stuff that I personally love. I thought it was great. Django Unchained, also Quentin Tarantino. Really didn't expect to love it that much, but it's seriously one of my favorite movies that I watched this year. Excellent. And I think that's all my honorable mentions, actually.
Those two?
It's just those two.
The Tarantinos.
Yeah, they're so close to being in my top 3.
What are the top 3?
For reference, I'm not gonna include Alien Romulus in this, just personally.
Variety.
Yeah, just for a little bit more variety. I mean, it probably would have won, but
It probably would have won.
Yeah, it might have won, but
It was the cheat card.
Yeah, I didn't include any 2024 movies personally for me. I just wanted a little bit more variety. I didn't want to talk about the same movies a bunch. So, all right, here we go. Top 3 best films. The Social Network, directed by David Fincher. Everyone had hyped it up for so long. It's literally a biopic about how Facebook was created. And I was like, there's no way this is as good as people are saying it is. And I watched it with my wife, and we both loved it.
Wow.
I was like, that was incredible. Like, what? Maybe the best, like, written dialogue. Incredible soundtrack. Some people, like, say that's their we have a coworker who says that's his favorite movie and favorite soundtrack of all time. And incredible performance. Jesse Eisenberg, Andrew Garfield, Justin Timberlake randomly is in the movie, and he's awesome. Like, it delivered all the hype. It delivered. So I had to absolutely talk about that. I loved it. Mad Max Fury Road, bro. It's cinema, bro.
There you go.
Come on. It's not the deepest story, but just on a visual level, it is a feast for the eyes, and it's so, like, just visceral and fun and cool. It just has this cool factor. Max and Furiosa are just awesome characters. Again, we talked about the stunts. They're just out of this world. The CGI scenes that are in the movie, which is very sparingly, are just... it blows you away. Literally, the story is... we're getting these prisoners to this place, and then we end up going back to the place. That is the story. And somehow that became one of the best movies I watched this year.
That's awesome.
And then...
number 3.
Terminator 2, Judgment Day.
Yo!
How could I not talk about it?
Yeah.
What I noticed is these 3 nominees are all movies that people have hyped up that delivered on the hype. Because we talked about how... it's really annoying when you watch all these movies and it's like, oh, this is great. This movie is fantastic. It's one of the best movies ever made. And you watch it and you're like, that's aight. But when you watch a movie that people hype up and it's like, that was everything everyone said it was, it just makes it so much better. T2, I mean, what's there to say? Incredible action, great, wonderful character writing, excellent themes. Some of the visuals, the nightmare sequence with everything blows up.
That was insane.
Whoa, bro, that was
So over
crazy.
the top. I was like,
Crazy stuff.
Really good.
What? I mean, it's just everything that you would want in a movie like that. So those are gonna be my 3 nominees. It's tough, dude. It's tough. These are all like incredible movies.
I hope you do the right thing, because I know what the right thing is.
But I think, for me personally, I gotta go Mad Max, baby.
Mad Max,
Fury Road was my favorite out of all, over 200 movies that I watched last year. Mad Max was my favorite movie that I watched last year.
Wow.
Minus Alien Romulus. But,
that was the
it's just... it's incredible. It is George Miller's magnum opus, as far as I'm concerned, and he has made some great movies.
Like Happy Feet.
If you haven't seen Mad Max Fury Road, watch it.
This is so funny how he directed Happy Feet.
That's crazy.
And the Babe movies.
Okay, so
it's like anime, like and the glint in the glasses. Ching, ching.
All right, so I have a few honorable mentions. I got a few. So honorable mentions are Heretic and Civil War, Starship Troopers, Waking Life, Eternal Sunshine, Spotless Mind, Little Women, Grand Budapest Hotel.
Wow, Little Women's not in top 3. That's crazy.
Come on, T2.
What? I don't know what's in your top 3. Wait a minute. I thought I predicted it. Gage, what's going on?
Mother.
It's sweaty.
Mother, 12 Angry Men, and Back to the Future. Those did not crack top 3.
What in the name?
This was the craziest year.
Brother.
So my 3 nominees, and all 3 of
I know what
these,
2 of them are.
all 3 of these movies are.
I thought I had your predictions.
This is how crazy this year was. All 3 of these are, as of right now, in the my top 10 favorite movies. All 3 of them, and that's how like cutthroat this became.
That's crazy.
And to be honest with you, I've been still like in my mind debating like which one is
this is like
what's
live.
my favorite.
This is live.
This is live decision making. So let's just do it the order I put it as far as nominees.
Right.
So my 3 nominees for the best movie or my favorite movie I watched this year, starting with Moonrise Kingdom from Wes Anderson.
Okay.
I am like so like torn down the middle as far as like which Wes Anderson movie I like more, being Moonrise Kingdom or Darjeeling Limited. It's like
It's by a hair.
It's by a hair. It's so close between those two. But Moonrise was just something that was particularly particular and unique that I've never seen in a movie yet before this. And it just like, it was a movie I watched at the right time and place. And I was like, that's how I felt that before. And it's like one of those feelings that you can't really put into words. And I feel like Wes did an amazing job at capturing that. Most people don't like this one as much. This is like bottom 3 Wes Anderson for most people. And so is Darjeeling. And I'm like, why? Like
you guys have horrible opinions.
I was like, these are the best ones. Like that's like top 3 Wes Anderson. Both of those, including Fantastic Mr. Fox. But yeah, it's been in my top 10 for a handful of months now. It's incredible. It's just so good. And I rewatched it and I still thought it was S tier. But it's still, sometimes I go back and forth between Darjeeling and Moonrise, but currently, Moonrise.
Dang, bro.
And then my second nominee is Ingmar Bergman's Persona.
Whoa, bro. Okay,
gotta have the artsy pick in there.
I knew that was gonna be in there.
These are all artsy.
I had such clear expectations going into this, thinking, this is gonna like have some profound answers about what it like identity and like like group mentality and group think and stuff like that, and people kind of blending personalities and stuff. And I was like, it's gonna have a clear thing it's going for. I thought that's what it was gonna be. This movie took me on a journey I did not expect. It's a movie, it only has like 4 or 5 actors, but it's really has like 2 if you think about it. It's really only 2 that are like for 90% of this movie in like actually on screen. And a lot of it's just conversations. A lot of it's just them talking, and there's extended dialogue sequences, but the movie's not very long. It's only like an hour and 20 minutes or something.
Which is crazy.
Yeah, it's not very long. And most of it's just them on an island. And they're just like, they have this house and they're like walking on the beach and stuff, and they're like making stuff, whatever, just they're doing stuff. And it ended up subverting expectations, and it was a movie that when it ended, I felt it more than I understood it. And it kind of showed me that sometimes that is more exciting of a way of like looking at a movie, is like, how did that make me feel, versus like, oh, what did it mean? Even though sometimes I still like to think about what was the meaning. I still like to think about what it meant, but it was a movie that I felt like didn't have like a clear like, oh, that's what they were doing, because I just didn't know. I didn't really catch on to that, but it was extremely interesting, and it was very inspiring. It made me think like, dang, I want to like make a movie now. Like this made me want to make a movie. That's how good it was. So yeah, Persona was fantastic.
Dang.
And then my third nominee is Mad God.
Yep.
Oh, yeah, okay, I should have known. I thought your top 3 would be Persona, Little Women, and T2. That was going to be my guess.
At one point in this year it would have been, but
dang, I only got 1 out of 3.
It got crazy, bro. Mad God, I literally was looking at the nominees, and I was like, I have to rewatch. So I literally rewatched Mad God before we sat down to do this, and just to make sure it was really like that good, as good as I was thinking. And it was. It's so incredible. Best visual experience of any movie I've ever seen. And I can't wait to rewatch it 100 more times. I don't understand this one either, because like, there's no dialogue. There's just like, things. You're just descending into hell, basically. You're descending, and everything looks crazy. Everything's weird and dark, and it's just such a creative movie. And there's really nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It's Phil Tippett's masterpiece, and he's made some good stuff, but that's really his just masterpiece.
That's like, I knew you would love this movie And you were like, I don't want to get the Steelbook.
Yeah,
I was like, bro, you should just get it.
Yeah, I didn't want to get Steelbook. And then the listing on Amazon for the Blu-ray is like really confusing because it's like a fuzzy image. And then it doesn't even show that it's like a Blu-ray. It just says, I think it just says BD in parentheses, which is Blu-ray disc. And I was like, how was I supposed to know that? So it turns out it was there this whole time. I could have watched it sooner because it's been out forever, like a couple of years at least. And yeah, I finally watched it this year, and I was like, yeah, that was as good as I thought it was going to be. It was better than I thought it was going to be.
Dang.
What was it gonna be?
So, it really, I think it comes down to Mad God versus Persona. It's really those two. And that's the thing that's been killing me. I've been going back and forth, but right now in this moment, they're like in my top 10, they're like smacked up next to each other. Like that's how close this is. But as far as which one's higher and what I think right now, by a hair, as much as this kills me, I gotta go Persona. Persona's probably the best movie.
Dang, bro.
My favorite movie I watched this year. It probably is.
Ingmar Bergman, bro.
But if you ask me next year, I guarantee you I don't guarantee you, but I think there's a good chance Mad God might be higher. It might be. Maybe it's just how I'm feeling today, you know. But yeah, that's what it's got to be right now.
And bro, that's it. That's the award show.
That's the awards.
Thanks for joining us, everybody. It's been fun. It's been a crazy year. Here's the 2025.
We'll see you next year.
See you next year. Woohoo!
I might join for next time, but
You're gonna join next time?
yeah.
Yeah. And it turns out we weren't recording.
Oh.